My name is Isabella, and I'm 27 years old. I work in a creative role at a software company in Florida. On the outside, it might look like I have an easy life, but things at home are quite messy. A year ago, my dad's company went bankrupt without warning. Since then, I had to move back to my hometown to live with my parents and my sister, Mary. Our family depends on my income to keep going. One evening, my mom started a conversation while we were sitting around. "Isabella, Mary says she wants pork steaks for dinner tomorrow." I sighed quietly and replied, "Oh, and we're running out of money for groceries. We can't even afford pork. Can you help out a bit more with the food budget?" I frowned and said, "We're already out of food money, and it's not even the middle of the month yet." That's when Mary chimed in, "Big sis, you're not giving enough money for food." I was shocked. "What do you mean? I'm already giving $10,000. That should be more than enough." Mary snorted. "Big sis, prices are higher now. $10,000 isn't enough for a family of four anymore." I couldn't hold back my frustration. "Just $10,000? If you have a problem with it, why don't you get a job and help pay for the food yourself?" Mom jumped in, taking Mary's side. "It's hard to find a job. I feel bad for Mary." I couldn't help but feel bitter. Mary uses her so-called job search as an excuse, but the truth is, she's just sitting around doing nothing. Plus, the money I give is secretly being passed to Mary as pocket money by my mom. "Enough," I finally said. "If it's so hard to manage, why don't we sell this house and move back to Grandma's hometown? Maybe we could find jobs there and life wouldn't be so tough." But Mom shut that idea down right away. "No way, I'm not going back to that town. My grandma owns a successful Italian restaurant in Miami where we could work and we'd have free pizza and pasta to eat. Life would definitely be easier. But Grandma is really strict, especially when it comes to making pizza. My mom hates this and doesn't want to deal with the hard work of making pizza. My dad always says, 'Why are we so quick to ask Grandma for help when we're supposed to be supporting ourselves?' That's just being spoiled." I wanted to scream inside. How can they say I'm spoiled when I'm the one paying for everything and my sister doesn't even want to work? Mary should get a part-time job, too. She's 25 and lots of people work part-time while looking for a full-time job. I suggested this, but my mom was quick to argue. "No, Mary helps around the house, so she doesn't have time for a part-time job." What? That made no sense to me. "What are you talking about? I've never seen Mary do any housework." My dad jumped in. "Mary carries the dishes to the sink after meals, and she does her own laundry. Sometimes, she even gives me shoulder massages." I could feel myself getting angry. The housework my dad mentioned is stuff even a little kid could do. Meanwhile, I wake up early every morning to make breakfast for the whole family and pack my dad's lunch. On top of that, I'm the one managing the household finances and taking care of the taxes. But still, my parents always favor Mary. They've treated her better than me since we were kids. People say I'm pretty too, but Mary has always been considered more graceful and charming. That's why our parents have always treated her specially. You'd think I'd just leave this situation, but it's complicated and I can't move out easily. So I live with this stress every day. One day, time passed, and I didn't realize my sister had left the house. I thought she had just gone out like usual. But then the next day and the day after that, she was nowhere to be found. I started to get suspicious. Then, as I came home and was heading to my room, I overheard my parents talking in the living room. What I heard shocked me. I can't wait for the souvenirs from Louisiana. Mary is really lucky right now, relaxing on the beautiful beaches and eating at fancy restaurants. My mom said, "I want to go to Louisiana too. Maybe we should all go together next time," my dad added. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Wait, what are you talking about? Are you saying Mary is in Louisiana right now?" I asked, confused. My parents looked at me, surprised. "Yes, that's right," they said. I couldn't believe it. "But how? She doesn't have any money. I've even been holding back from shopping or going out to save." "Oh, she won a trip in a sweepstakes," my mom explained. "Mary's always been lucky with stuff like that." Apparently, Mary had won a trip to Louisiana, and I had no idea. Surprised, I decided to just accept their explanation for now. But the next day, while I was at work, I got a call from a credit card company that I wasn't expecting. I don't usually use my credit card much, so when the company called to inform me of high charges over the past 4 days, I was shocked. I couldn't remember making any big purchases. Feeling nervous, I asked how much had been spent, and the customer support agent told me it was $20,000 over 4 days. Right away, I knew who was behind it. It had to be my sister, Mary, enjoying her trip to Louisiana. She may have won the hotel stay and plane tickets, but she still needed money for souvenirs and other things. Determined to find out the truth, I called her. "What's going on? Explain yourself," I said. "Oh, I'm surprised you called, sis. I thought you were waiting for your souvenirs," Mary joked. "Stop messing around. You've been using my credit card without asking, haven't you?" She didn't even seem to care. "Did you notice?" "It was an accident," she said casually, and my anger grew. I regretted not realizing sooner that someone had gone through my stuff. What were you thinking? Using someone's credit card without permission is a crime. It might be a problem if it was someone else's, but we're family, Isabella. You should really study up on these things, she replied. How could you spend $20,000 in just 4 days? That's a crazy amount of money. Well, besides the free flight and hotel, I had to pay for all the other activities, shopping, and meals. I went to fancy restaurants, bought some branded stuff, and took taxis. Before I knew it, I spent over $20,000. Spending that much money is just not okay, Mary. What were you thinking? Why are you so mad? I used the card because it was going to expire soon. That's all, sis. I'll leave the bill to you, she said cheerfully, then hung up the phone. I was left speechless. The whole thing was so sudden. After that, Mary kept trying to contact me, but I ignored her. Eventually, she left a message on my voicemail saying, I guess I really messed up this time. I'm so foolish. I couldn't help but laugh at how casual she was about it. Later that evening, when I got home, my parents rushed to greet me. Welcome back, they said. How can you act so calm? Mary's in a tough spot, my mom added. Why did you stop the card? She's in trouble. So what? She used my card without permission, so of course I stopped it, I replied. As soon as the credit card company called, and I noticed the charges I didn't recognize, I canceled the card right away. Apparently, Mary tried to use the card after it was blocked and panicked when it didn't work. She then took out her frustration on me, but since I kept ignoring her, she finally turned to our parents for help. Your sister's in trouble in another country, and you're not going to do anything? Are you still saying that? Just because we're family doesn't mean it's okay to use someone's card to blow $20,000. I don't think you should be so heartless, my mom said. How can you be so cold? It's because of your attitude that you never get to go on trips. Mary planned to buy us souvenirs with the card, so what's the big deal? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You two are unbelievable. How can you think that way? Are you sleep-talking during the day? You should be thinking clearly. She's out there enjoying herself and thinking of us, and you still want me to be thoughtful. Thoughtful? Can you still say that after hearing this? I pulled out my phone and played the voicemail my sister had left me. Mary's voice came through loud and clear. Make the card usable, you miser. Our parents' cards are maxed out and I can't use them. You're being so cheap, not even giving me pocket money for this trip. How useless can they be? After hearing Mary's angry message, my parents went silent. Their anger quickly faded, and they rushed to their room to check their credit cards. A few minutes later, I heard them screaming in panic. When I went to check on them, their faces were red with anger. I can't believe Mary used my card without asking after everything we've done for her, my dad said, furious. She even took the bank book and our cards. I feel so betrayed. Oh, I responded coldly. Wasn't it supposed to be a kind act from Mary to buy you souvenirs? You said she was thinking of us and trying to have fun for our sake, right? Yeah, that's what we thought, but our money is still safe, right? My mom muttered, unsure. When I saw how quickly their attitudes changed once they realized their money was still safe, I couldn't hide my disappointment. Well then, Why don't you just raise the card limit and pay off the balance so she can use it again? Let the kind Mary who is trying to buy you souvenirs have it. That's not possible, my mom said. We don't have any savings left. What are we going to do? Mary stuck out there with no money for food or anything. After the chaos, my dad suddenly turned to me. Isabella, please. We'll start fresh. We promise to work together to support this family. Please help Mary. What are you talking about? Does that include me now? I asked sarcastically. Moved by my dad's words, my mom knelt down in front of me. I was shocked for a moment, but then I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. It's a little late for apologies now, I said. But my mom continued, pleading with me earnestly. I swear I will change. I will do my best to support everyone from now on. I won't wrong you or her ever again. Despite everything, I couldn't stop laughing at the absurdity of the situation. As my parents went back to their room, I quietly took out my credit card, still unsure of what to do next. I had secretly discovered a credit card that still had a valid expiration date and hadn't been used. So I suggested, why don't you give this card to Mary and take a family trip together? My parents were thrilled by the idea. They immediately contacted my sister, and they all began to excitedly prepare for the trip. I even booked their flights to Louisiana online while watching them with a smile. After everything was set, I made a call to a certain number. 5 days later, when my parents and sister returned from Louisiana, Mary greeted me with, "Big sis, thank you for letting us enjoy Louisiana. It's rare for you to come pick us up. Are you expecting souvenirs?" Sorry, I didn't buy anything. It was clear they had a great time and had already forgotten to be thankful for my help. Seeing this, I knew it was time to put my plan into action. I could barely contain my excitement. Looks like you had a lot of fun. Was that the last big moment of your life? What do you mean by last? Mary asked, confused. Well, I've decided to sell the house, I said casually. I've already sent our belongings to the new place, and someone's coming to pick us up. My parents and sister were completely shocked. They noticed the for sale sign at the entrance of her home. What is this? Did you really sell the house? What's going on? They demanded. Facing their astonished faces, I explained further. Actually, a real estate agent I know from university was interested in this land for a while and had been asking to buy the house and land together. I always said no because I thought keeping the house made sense. But I recently changed my mind. I realized that selling this house and living on my own again would give me financial and mental freedom. My parents protested. You can't sell the house on your own. It's illegal. This house belongs to Dad, not you. Staying calm, I replied, Oh, you seem pretty upset about it. But what if I told you the house and land are actually in my name? What? They exclaimed in disbelief. Dad, do you remember when you couldn't pay the taxes and came to me for help? I agreed to pay on the condition that we change the house's ownership to my name. You signed the papers back then, remember? Dad's face fell as the memory came rushing back. That's right. I continued explaining. I didn't leave this house because it was already in my name. I was waiting for the right time to get you all out so I could sell it. It was tough to find an opportunity since you were always home. But when I sent you to Louisiana, I finally had my chance. With everyone out of the house, I could go ahead and sell it. Everyone was in shock. What? They gasped. As I mentioned earlier, I continued calmly. Your luggage has already been sent to the new place, so don't worry. The pickup will arrive soon. Pickup? What do you mean? My mom asked, still confused. Grandma is waiting for everyone. She's excited to see you, I said with a smile. Wait, Grandma? You mean Mom? My dad asked, his voice shaky. Yep, I talked to her, and she agreed to take everyone in. She's eager to knock some sense into you. She even told me to send your luggage. So, get ready for daily pizza making and cleaning at Grandma's restaurant. My parents and Mary were stunned. We can't go to Grandma's. We don't want to. Mary cried out. Oh, I see. Well, you can do whatever you like, but without a house or jobs, how do you plan to live? And don't forget about the credit card bill. How are you going to pay it off? What are you talking about? My mom asked nervously. The card is in your name. You thought it was in my name? You should be more careful. The card is actually in someone else's name, I said. No way. My mom's face went pale as she took out the card and checked the name. Her eyes widened. Wait, this card is in Mary's name? Exactly. The credit card I gave you was one I found in Mary's room. It was the first card she got when she started working, but she quit that job soon after. It seems she never used it.
What?
I've spent too much. What should I do now? My mom panicked. Well, since Mary's name is on the card, she has no choice but to pay it off. And you'll all need to work hard at Grandma's to cover your stay, without causing any trouble. Mary resisted until the very end, but our parents, seeing no other option, stayed silent and waited for Grandma's arrival. When she came, they all headed to her house and restaurant in Miami. Under Grandma's strict supervision, and with the help of her veteran employees, they learned to work hard, even shedding tears along the way. The $230,000 that had been charged to my card was eventually paid back to me by Mary, under Grandma's watchful eye. Although I had planned to settle everything by selling the house, Grandma managed to recover the living expenses I had previously covered and even took a portion of my parents' salaries to pay me back. Later, I moved into an apartment closer to my job and was able to live alone again. My new life was going smoothly, and I started enjoying peaceful days. One evening, as I stood on my balcony, looking down at the city as the sun set, I felt a sense of relief from the pressure I had carried for so long. There was also a small feeling of loneliness. Just then, my phone rang, and I hesitated when I saw Grandma's name on the screen. Hello, Grandma. I answered, and she asked how I was doing. Yes, I'm fine, I replied. That's good, she said. Actually, I wanted to talk about Mary and your parents. They're starting to change, especially Mary. She's now helping a lot with the work. Your parents are also beginning to reflect on things. Grandma continued, Isabella, I know it's been hard for you. I think I understand how you feel. Family can sometimes feel like a burden, but it's also something we should support. I hope you'll be able to forgive them someday. I listened to Grandma's words. I could hear the hesitation and worry in her voice, but there was also a strong sense of determination. There's no rush, she said gently. Take your time and think it over when you're ready. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I understand, Grandma. I'll take my time and think about everything, I replied, and then I quietly hung up the phone. As I gazed out at the city, the sun dipped below the horizon, and the darkness of night slowly covered the skyline. A mix of emotions churned inside me. I still felt anger and sadness, but there was also a tiny spark of hope for the future. When I returned to my room, my eyes were drawn to an old family photo. In it, a young Mary and I smiled alongside our parents. Seeing those happy faces, I couldn't help but remember the joyful days we had shared in the past. I thought if only we could go back to those times. But reality quickly brought me back. As time passed, my life began to settle into a comfortable rhythm. At work, I was given the responsibility of leading a new project, and in my personal life, I started to feel more fulfilled. One evening, after wrapping up the day's work, my phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number. I hesitated but decided to answer. Hello, this is Isabella. It's me, Mary. Came a voice that was different from her usual confident and arrogant tone. It was softer, more unsure. Surprised, I asked, Mary, what's going on? Did something happen? Sorry for calling out of the blue, actually, she started to say. I want to meet you in person. I want to talk to you, Mary said softly. Her voice had a humility and growth that I never expected from her. Why do you want to meet? I asked quietly, waiting for her answer. Mary's voice, though shaky, was calm and sincere, showing how much she had changed. Big sis, I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart. I felt that a phone call wouldn't fully express how I feel. That's why I want to see you in person, to truly and sincerely say I'm sorry. I could hear how genuine she was. Without interrupting, I listened quietly. If it's too hard for you to meet me, that's okay. I just want to respect how you feel, Mary continued. After a moment of silence, I finally responded. All right, let's meet next Sunday at 3 p.m. at the cafe near the station. Really? That makes me so happy. Thank you, big sis. Mary replied, sounding relieved. After I hung up the phone, I took a deep breath to gather my thoughts. I wasn't sure if meeting her was the right decision, but deep down, I hoped that it might lead to something positive. On the day we were supposed to meet, I arrived at the cafe earlier than planned. As I sat there, my heart was racing, and I felt a mix of nervousness and anticipation. The clock seemed to move slowly, but eventually, the door to the cafe opened and Mary walked in. She looked different. Her face was free of makeup, her clothes were simple, and most of all, her eyes showed real change. She walked up to my table slowly and began apologizing right away. "Big sis, I am truly, truly sorry." In that moment, I could feel the change in her, and for a second, I wasn't sure how to respond. "Mary," I began, but she kept talking, holding back tears. "Working at Grandma's place made me realize how much I relied on you. I took you for granted all these years. I finally understand how hard it's been for you, always putting us first and never thinking about yourself." Tears streamed down her face as she reflected on her past actions and repeatedly apologized from the heart. Mary told me how much she had leaned on me before and the lessons she had learned while working at Grandma's. She opened up about her relationships with our parents and how much she had grown. I sat quietly, listening to Mary's words. With each sentence, the anger and sadness I had held onto for so long started to fade away. As she continued talking, I could feel the heavy emotions inside me begin to lift. "Thank you, Mary. I've taken your words to heart," I said. After that, we spent several hours talking about different things, what had been happening in our lives, and the challenges we were facing. This open conversation felt like an important step in rebuilding our relationship. As we were about to leave, Mary handed me an envelope full of gratitude. Inside was money she had earned by working hard at Grandma's house. "This is just the beginning, but I'll keep doing my best," she said. As I took the envelope, I could feel how much she had grown, and it warmed my heart. Months later, I visited Grandma's house again and met my parents there. This time, they gave me sincere apologies, and I could see they had changed just like Mary. That evening, we all sat down for a family meal, something we hadn't done in a long time. I felt the warmth of being with family again. I knew I couldn't forgive everything right away, but seeing my family's efforts to change gave me hope for the future. Before I left, Grandma shared some wise words with me. "Isabella, you've grown strong, but as important as that strength is, don't forget the kindness you still carry. That's the most important thing." When Grandma hugged me, I couldn't hold back my emotions and started to cry. I felt like this was the beginning of a new chapter with my family, and the weight on my heart started